Want to start?
Yes, thank you.
Hey, can you hear me? What has the response been when you are? How many colleagues are you in Amara, and if you're traveling around the world and you are meeting leaders, how have they reacted?
Mm-hmm. So in Amara collaboration, we have 4 people for 4 countries. So we have Bill Torbert, who's the professor in the US. We have Jane Allen in the UK. And we have Elena Pranskevičiūtė in Lithuania and me, and it's a Finnish company. And I think it's very different. So for some people, it takes total sense. And I think this world has been looking for, we think we have a leadership crisis at the moment going on. And we don't have too many answers how to go on. So a lot of people is like, well, this does really make sense. And there is lots of people who've been really developing their capacity and their mindset for a long time. But then there's people who think it's total nonsense, and people who think that, but we need to have the short-term goals. It's not possible in a world where we have the quarterly. We think just a few months ahead and sometimes just 1 month ahead. So I mean, it's for the people who want to develop, and the reason to really develop is that they have found that people who develop later action logics have a tremendously bigger probability of leading transformational change in organizations. So it's kind of the answer to the transformation question that we're facing.
Are you also providing some kind of community or platform, because it might be needed in the stage of transforming oneself as a leader, to be able to communicate with you or seek advice?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we have started with that, but so people who really want to be involved. We don't have a monthly meeting at the moment, but that's going to start from January.
So I wanted to ask, when you were CEO, and kind of when you reflect upon what you did, then with kind of pure intuition, can you say what did you do? Kind of what did change in the company, and kind of you talked about shifts, and kind of could you identify what were the shifts?
Well, I think if we go to really concrete level, when I came in, I spoke with every person in the company. So I wanted to really understand. I was the first CEO not to sit in their own room, but actually sit together with everybody else. There'd been a lot of CEOs in the company before who didn't do this. And I think the actual shift, the transformation doesn't happen as a big project, but it actually happens in the moments. So, and I think one of the most important moments was when I was arranging a volunteer day on a Saturday for people who wanted to be part of doing kind of the vision and how the strategy on how to go forward. So I came in and make breakfast for everybody, and we were all sitting on the floor together, not wearing shoes, and really, really, really seeing each other. And so different kind of things there, and people we had did it in an open space kind of thing. So anybody who wanted to address any topic could do it, and then gathered people who wanted to work around that and talk about it. And so I could have been alone there with just the management team, but we had half of the company coming in, and it was. This day meant a lot. There were people who said that this is when I start to believe that we are really going to make it. And as the people who were there believed that we will do it together, it was kind of the dominant energy to also suck in the other people in the company who weren't present. So kind of then the dominant energy in the company was that, yes, we're going to go and we're going to make this happen. We're going to really be successful.
Yeah, so openness and connection and like listening. More questions? Catch.
Hi.
Hi.
At some point you mentioned that you don't know what the future will be, that maybe in the future it's not going to be so much about leaders and followers, but that we would be more at one level or something like that. But at the same time, you're focusing on developing leaders, where for me, I think that we should all be developing. So instead of being a transformational leader, we should all be transformational individuals and be mindful. And not that it would only be the leaders that are doing this, but people in general.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. So we are focusing on leaders because we think that has a bigger effect. We do have people who are not in leading position coming into our, and it's not excluded in any way. But I think that the biggest effect we find of on the ones that are the currently leading companies. I totally agree with the fact that I believe in self-organized, and this is a whole different topic, where people come in whole to the company, where there is an evolutionary purpose and where there is no hierarchies, so anyone can make any decision. It doesn't mean there is no structures, and it doesn't mean there is no CEO, but it's a totally different way of structuring. And I see this happening in Finland. So there is companies, especially new companies, going into this. There is companies that are trying it out in different units and then starting to go on. I think this is one of the answers for people not being engaged. But on the other hand, there is no self-organized, or the teal, as we want to call it, organization that doesn't have a leader that is really post-conventional, that has a transforming action logic. So even though there is self-organized companies, there needs to be one who is holding the vision, holding the whole thing, and is capable of letting other people transform as well.
Thank you.
Almost. You want to talk? So my question is, do you think everybody has transformational capacity? And does everybody has to have that? Yeah.
Well, no, not everybody doesn't need to have it, because it doesn't correlate with happiness or with a better life or anyway. It does correlate with if you want to have the capacity to transform organizations, yourself, people around you, and organizations. So no, I don't think everybody needs to do it. And your other question was whether it's everybody has the capacity. Well, I think yes and no. I don't think anybody, it is developmental. I think we need to grow through the phases, and I believe it can happen through a difficult life where you've had to really look at how you look at the world. And I do believe that anybody who has a willingness and devotion to really develop this capacity can do it. But I don't believe that anyone can be forced. So this also changes how I have a feeling of HR in companies have been some function that is telling you that you need to develop. And I remember myself, even though I was very open to learn, going to this course, and I'm like, okay, so what did she come up with this time? So I had kind of the resistance, because I was put into, you need to develop in this. So I think we are in a shift where people need to be in the driving seat of their own development. It's not a function like HR who is saying you need to transform in a certain way. So I think that's really important, that it's not coming from someone saying you need to do this.
Good.
Hello.
Hello.
And what if people don't want to develop themselves? Like, I think that some people really need to be pushed, that you say that they have to develop. Like, otherwise they're just useless for a company.
But I think we're here. We can distinguish competence and development. So building your competence in doing things, I think, is a different thing. And that's something you can say, go to this course and learn how to use Excel. Or go to this course so you know how to do this and this process, or learn to use this program. But when we talk about development, I don't personally believe this is something that you're not mature enough, so go there and grow up. You know, that's I don't think that's possible. So here I'd like to make the distinguish with kind of really developing the capacity and then learning about competencies and skills.
Yeah, but people have to understand themselves that they want to grow at some point, because otherwise they can't transform. Like,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, can you tell us more how you actually do the work at Amara? So how do you invite people to change?
Yeah. So we do different kind of programs, which can be half year or 1 year. We do workshops. So for example, in January, we're going to have a workshop that we call the introduction. We kind of put people in for two times 48 hours into kind of a container where, so our thing is to make a space where people can develop. What we do when we facilitate is that we give lots of different perspectives and we kind of open up, we help people open up, and then they themselves inquire and bring up whatever is most important. So we do different workshops. We have the ones that is, I think the intro is like a springboard to really, wow, I never knew about these things, and people come out and are a little bit confused, and then within the next 2 months, things are going to start happening. Then we have those where we go deeper. We just put up a conference in Helsinki, where the idea is that you can get a little taster of what it's all about, but you don't need to commit to be there for 2 days, but only for a few hours. We do some online, even though I think the most effective ones are when you're really present. We don't go very deep into mindfulness, but we do go into mindfulness. We might do exercises that kind of wakes people up. So looking at something that we knew exactly what it is, and we think we know exactly what it is, but when we go really deep, we understand that there is so much more into it. And then we can have kind of a bridge. Well, if you haven't seen that this flower has so much more deepness than you ever thought, what does this mean? What don't you see in organization? So we do exercises like this to really make people think themselves. So we are not lecturing in our workshops.
Thank you.
Last question.
Hello.
Hello.
Well, just wondering. Nalle Walrus just said in a recent article that you cannot learn leadership from manuals. And I found out that there's a lot of organizations where leaders don't seek help or don't think that there's anything wrong in a way they lead. So what do you think are the biggest obstacles in your line of work? Like educating people to become leaders or learning leadership tools or whatnot?
Well, I think mostly the biggest obstacles is if the openness of really wanting to step in and give your whole self. So to be connected and to be what you were bringing in the beginning, the vulnerability, being courage, like having the courage to really, like courage is a different thing than bravery. Like bravery is like, so brave and I climbed up this mountain, whereas courage actually means that I have the courage to be myself and to show that to the world. So I think it's being for each person to be open and have the courage to make mistakes, to be vulnerable, to be seen, actually, and not hide. And then, so that's, I think, on a personal level. Then, of course, I do think that there is some obstacles in the structures that we have. So many times we might have built up structures in the companies, in organizations that are forcing us to do something else than we would want to do. And so I think one as the hierarchies is one that I think the hierarchy itself makes one person more valuable than another. And even though it might work and it might work to really get a transformation on an organizational level, it still makes it more difficult if I'm less valuable than you. And if it's really being used, the power dynamics in between is being used in a way where I can have power over someone instead of having mutual power, like mutual transforming power, which is very rare at this moment. We think of power as being something that I got power over someone, whereas there is a lot of different ways of looking at power.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry. I said it was the last question, but I still, because I know there's a few in the audience that as employees they struggle with leaders that aren't open, that aren't transparent, and they are always on a hidden agenda. So, what are your guides as an employee to?
Yeah, well, that's a difficult question, I think that the more aware we can be ourselves, it's more easy to understand other people's perspectives as well. And I believe many times when there is lots of those hidden agendas and those competition and the game, I know I've been in the corporate world where we have this game, I need to be better than you, so I do, and my actions go to that, and I want to play my own role, so I get higher and higher up. But to really understand that actually comes from some kind of fear of not being seen and not being good enough, and not having the next position and not so much money that you can show to everybody else, that then it makes it a lot easier to understand when people are coming from. So I have experiences where my boss kind of started to lie to me and started to not physically be violent, but still in a way being violent, and it felt so bad. I knew that it was because I have this determination and I'm saying no when I need to say no, but I couldn't understand why he would treat me like this until I understand that he just doesn't have the capacity to act the way he would want to when I'm kind of putting him into the corner and using too much of my power. So then, by understanding that this is just him to survive and to really defend his own space, helped me to understand that, well, there is a distinction between him as a person and him as a leader, where he can't function the way he would want to function. And so we got along a lot better, and we could start talking about this more openly. So this is a long way, but I think it is possible, and openness in every sense. If the world, I believe, is a mirror in a way. So if I'm open to you, then I give you the permission to be open to me. So if we want someone to behave in a certain way, we can start with ourselves. Every transformation starts from me. It's not the leader saying, you need to change and you need to do this, but I actually need to think about, what do I do? And really look into the mirror and go from myself. So I don't know how as a advice that is, but
but I think that wraps it up really, really well. Now that's something also I would like to leave with the audience, encouraging everybody of us to be honest about ourselves and having and kind of taking the courage to be open. And of course that's not easy, but that's a gift we can give to the people around us. A big thank you.